This tutorial is kind of going to have two different tutorials baked into it. One is going to be for the beginner who only knows the basics of how to play the tin whistle, and the other is going to be for someone who either already has experience playing tin whistle or maybe is coming from another woodwind like saxophone or flute. But before we get into the tutorial, there are a few quick things you need to know. Tin whistle and penny whistle are the same thing. I'm not going to argue with you about it. I'm going to use tin whistle for the purpose of this video. Get over it. Second thing, you're going to need a whistle in the key of F to properly play this solo. I think you can get away with playing it on a C whistle, but it's not going to be in the same register and it doesn't sound as good in my opinion. Also, it'll be harder to follow along with me because I'm playing an F whistle. These can be kind of hard to find, honestly, so if you don't already have one, it'll be the first link in the description. If you only ever plan on playing this specific solo, then this whistle is totally fine. But if you want to play almost any other song that is traditionally played on a tin whistle, I would recommend you get one in the key of D. So do with that information what you will. You'll kind of have to decide what's right for you. The last thing is my dear friends Anton and Brian made a 16-bar backing track specifically for this video. So if you want to practice along and try to work the solo up to speed, there's the backing track. It'll be the second link in the description and it's just an unlisted YouTube video. I did write out sheet music and tabs for this, so it's going to be on the screen while I'm playing. But if you want the full page or you want to download the sheet music, that's going to be in the backing track video. Again, second link in the description. Also, if you need to slow this video down for any reason, you can click the little gear icon and then set the speed to custom and you can slow it down in 5% increments. So if I'm going a little too fast in some sections or a little too slow, you can adjust it there. Now, if you don't already have a basic understanding of the tin whistle, I would recommend watching some tutorials before you try to tackle this solo because you'll at least need to know some basic fingerings. All right, so for the basic version, I'm going to leave out a lot of the ornaments and I won't be as particular with the articulations. Here's what the simplified version is going to sound like. There's a lot of repetition in this solo, so I'm going to break it down phrase by phrase, and pretty much once you learn like 2 of the phrases, you kind of know half of the solo. So let's check out the first bar because once you know that, you pretty much know 4 bars of the solo already. So you're going to start on C and go C, C, D, C, A, G, F. So the next bar completes that phrase and you're going to go G, G, C, 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 D, C. So the first 2 bars together slowly go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So once you have those 2 bars, you actually have the beginning of the next 2 phrases. So here's bars 3 and 4. Bar 4 is the only thing that's a little different and it's kind of just a variation of bar 2. So you start the first beat the same by going G, 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 A, C, 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 D, C. So it sounds like this. So here's bars 3 and 4 together, nice and slow. 3, 4. So now let's try bars 1 through 4 all together slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great, so now let's listen to bars 5 through 6. You'll notice bar 5 starts the exact same as the last 2 phrases. So bar 5 is the exact same as bar 1, and bar 6 is just another variation of bar 2. So bar 6 starts G, D, C, 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 D, C. The hardest part of that line is probably that string of 16th notes in the middle. If you don't have a lot of experience articulating and that's difficult for you, you can just play the same phrase as bar 2, but you'll leave off the middle 16th note on that last beat. So it would sound like this. Now we're going to go back to the beginning and see if we can get bars 1 through 6. 3, 4. All right, so all we have to do is get bar 7 and 8, and then we have half the solo done. Here's what bar 7 and 8 sound like. 3, 4. So as you can hear, bar 7 starts the same as 1, 3, and 5, but there's a little variation at the end there. So you're going to go C, C, D, C, A, 3, 4. So bar 8 is a little tricky. Here's what it sounds like. 3, 4. So slowly, that's A, G, F, A, G, C, G, C, G, A, F. 3, 4. Now, you'll notice the fingering for F on an F whistle is 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Sometimes I find it hard when I'm going from that jump down to remember to lift up my index finger, which you don't really have to do. The note will still come out either way. Obviously, the tone isn't as good and it's a little out of tune, but sometimes doing that is a little easier when you're trying to jump between those notes. So let's try bar 7 and 8 together slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so you officially have half of the solo done. Let's go back to the top and try to get bars 1 through 8 slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome. So I would spend a little time getting comfortable with that and try to work it up to speed. Just make sure you're not practicing any mistakes. Okay, so the second half of the solo is very similar to the first in the sense that it's taking an idea and it's expanding on it. So when you learn the first bar, you kind of have the first bit of the next few phrases. So let's check out bars 9 and 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that first phrase starts on A and goes A, C, F, D, C, A, G. Here's bar 9 slowly. 3, 4. That high F can be hard to get out. I'm using 2 and 3 on my left hand, and that's it. Now, bar 10 is a little tricky rhythmically. This is how it goes. 3, 4. F, A, F, G, D, C, 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 D, C. So if you want to split it up into even smaller fragments, you can think of beats 1 and 2 as repeating on beats 3 and 4 rhythmically. So it's da 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 da. And then all you have to do is plug the notes in. 3, 4. Now let's try bars 9 and 10 together slowly. 3, 4. So bars 11 and 12 are almost exactly the same as bars 9 and 10. There's only one note difference, and it's in the end of beat 3 in bar 12. Bar 12, you're going F, A, F, G, D, C, C, D, D, C. You're just jumping to a D a little earlier than you did in bar 11. So here's bars 11 and 12 together slowly. 3, 4. Great, so now let's try bars 9 through 12 slowly. 3, 4. So you almost have the whole solo now. There's only 4 bars left, but let's jump back to the top and try to see if we can get bars 1 through 12 without making a mistake. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now for the last 4 bars, it's a little tricky, but it's still pretty much just a variation of the last few bars. Here's how bars 13 and 14 sound. 3, 4. So the first part of bar 13 starts out exactly like bar 9. So you're going A, C, F, D, C, D, C. So the end is the only difference there. Bar 14 is pretty similar to bar 10, just a little variation. 3, 4. So let's try bar 13 and 14 together. 3, 4. Now let's try bars 9 through 14 slowly. 3, 4. All right, so the last 2 bars are pretty easy. They go like this. So bar 15 starts out just like the last phrase, but then the end is a little different. So you go A, C, F, D, C, B flat, G. So slowly it's like this. 3, 4. So the last bar is pretty simple. It's just C, C, D, C, A, G, F. 3, 4. So here are the last 2 bars together slowly and then a little faster. 3, 4. Three, 4. All right, so that's it. That's the whole solo. Let's try it from the top slowly, and then we'll do it a little faster. 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. All right, so there you go. That is the simplified version without a bunch of the ornaments. Hopefully that is helpful. Now I'm going to go on to the more advanced version where I get into all the nerdiness of the ornaments and everything. Welcome to the advanced portion of this tutorial. If you're coming from another woodwind like saxophone or flute, I would recommend just reading this as if it's in the key of D. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to talk about the notes as if I'm holding a D whistle, and I'm going to be following along with sheet music that is in D. If you have perfect pitch and this gets too confusing, you can watch the basic version where I talk about the notes as if you're holding an F whistle. But my guess is if you already have experience on a woodwind instrument, it's going to be easier to just think about this as a whistle in D. So I already played the advanced version at the beginning of this video, and the thing that really makes this solo, or any solo for that matter, sound closest to the original is the ornaments and the articulations. There are basically 3 ornaments that you're going to need to know to play this as close to the original as possible. So let's play bars 1 and 2 and check out the first ornament. So that first ornament is basically just a grace note coming from E to F sharp. Basically all I'm doing is I'm articulating on that E and then immediately playing the F sharp after. I think that happens pretty much every time you play F sharp, so get comfortable with that. It also happens on a few other notes, so we'll get into that in a second. So here's bars 3 and 4. Bar 4 is the only thing that's a little different, and it's kind of just a variation of bar 2. So let's just try bars 1 through 4 slowly. 3, 4. So you'll notice too, I'm trying to be very deliberate with what I'm slurring and what I'm tonguing. I think what I have written out should be pretty close to what he's doing in the original. Some of it's a little hard to hear, but let's try bars 5 and 6 now. In bar 6, you're going to do that same grace note, but this time you're coming from A up to B. 3, 4. So as you can hear, it's just the same concept as that E to F sharp. I'm just tonguing the grace note and then slurring to that B. Now let's try to do bars 1 through 6. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this next ornament in bar 7, I don't know if it's entirely what he's doing in the recording, but to me, it sounds like he's doing a roll. So this kind of gets in the weeds a little bit with like Irish ornaments. Essentially what a roll is you're starting on one pitch, going up from that note, back down to the starting pitch, down from that note, back up to the starting pitch. But you do it really fast, so it almost takes up no space at all. Let me play bars 7 and 8 real quick so you can hear it, and then I'll slow it down. 3, 4. I think I have it notated as a turn. It's not quite a turn because it's not like in time like a turn. It's almost like as fast as possible to take up the smallest amount of space as it can. Now, the way I do a roll on this note is I'm actually lifting up my ring finger on my left hand and keeping my pointer finger down on my right hand. And then I put my ring finger back down on my left hand, put my middle finger down on my right hand, and lift it back up. So all that's happening very fast, but here's what it looks like slowly. Now, I'm certainly no expert at Irish ornaments on the whistle, but that's probably the hardest thing to get in the solo, and you can probably honestly leave it out if you really want to. But anyways, with that being said, here's bars 7 and 8 slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. So one other note on the very last beat of that bar, bar 8, jumping back and forth between that E and A and then landing on that D can be kind of hard because the fingering for D on whistle is technically 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can actually get away with playing it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's a little less in tune, maybe it doesn't sound as good, but sometimes it's easier because you can just leave this finger down. Okay, so now let's try bars 1 through 8 slowly. 2, 3, 4. Great, so that's the first half of the solo. Now the second half is pretty easy, maybe even easier than the first half. It's more repetitive, but the new ornament, if you will, that you need to know how to do is how to bend notes. So let me play you bars 9 and 10, and then I'll explain how I'm doing it. So on beat 3, I'm bending up to that B. So the way I'm doing that is I'm starting on an A and I'm kind of sliding my finger to get to the B. It almost feels counterintuitive, but I'm going from this side of the whistle to that side of the whistle and like moving my finger up instead of like sliding my finger vertically, if that makes sense. But that's the motion. Once you get used to it, it's pretty easy. Let's try bars 9 and 10 together slowly. 2, 3, 4. Also, this is another bar where it might make sense to play D as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 instead of 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. As you start to speed up, bar 10 feels a little clunky, like. So I think sometimes I maybe just play D as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So bars 11 and 12, I'll be honest, in bar 12, I have written this. But I think most of the time I'm just repeating bars 9 and 10. I think technically he is going do do di dwi da. It's kind of like a cracked note or something else is happening there that I can't really hear. Here's bars 11 and 12. 3, 4. So now let's try bars 9 through 12. 2, 3, 4. Awesome, so the last 4 bars are pretty easy. There's no new ornaments or anything. It's kind of just an expansion on bars 9 through 12. I'll play the whole phrase and then we'll slow it down and play it together. 2, 3, 4. So here are bars 13 and 14 slowly, then quicker. 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. Now here are the last 2 bars slowly, then sped up. 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try bars 9 through the end, and then we'll go back to the top and do the whole thing slowly, then faster. 2, 3, 4. Great, so that's the whole solo. Let's go from the top once slowly, and then I'll play it a little faster. 2, 3, 4. All right, now a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's the You Can Call Me Al tin whistle solo. I've posted that video a handful of times of me playing it live on gigs, and people seem to always ask for a tutorial, so finally thought I'd make it. Make sure to go check out the backing track in the description. I don't really do a lot of tutorials, so hopefully this was manageable and followable. I'm also not really an expert tin whistle player, so I'm kind of just a saxophone player that has figured out how to fake it. So sorry if I'm using any incorrect terminology or whatever, but hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for watching.